Hi beautiful, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to try a few new products that I recently purchased from beautybliss.com, and they are a New Zealand website that carries Revolution products. So I picked up a few new Revolution products because I actually quite like the quality of their products as well as the price because it's very affordable. I've already primed my face because I didn't have any primer from Revolution, but I do have this Hyaluronic Fix Hydrating and Plumping Makeup Fixing Spray. The sprayer feels quite aggressive, like my whole face is pretty wet with a few spreads, which is a good and a bad thing. It smells like plastic, but it does feel good on the skin. For foundation today, I'm actually quite excited to try this Revolution foundation stick, and I have the shade F10. This is what it looks like. Hopefully this is my match, because on the website I mainly just based my color match on the description of the foundation. This foundation is very creamy. It doesn't smell like anything, but it glides on very smoothly. I just hope the coverage is good because I kind of need that right now. But oh my god, I feel like the color match would be okay. But yeah, this is very creamy. Like, look, I'm barely even touching. So I'm going to apply the foundation using a brush. It's blending out very good. It does feel a little bit heavy though, and a little bit greasy, which is usually a common thing with foundation sticks. But the coverage is pretty good. I'd say off the bat it is a medium coverage. The color match is actually spot on, which is really good because usually when I try new foundations, I always don't get the right match. It has a very natural finish. I wouldn't say it's matte or very dewy. It feels a little bit tacky though, and it feels quite heavy on the skin. I'm actually interested to see how it will wear with powder on top, because I feel like this is a type of product that will easily move because of its creaminess. First impression, I actually quite like how the brush applied the makeup. It gave it a medium coverage. So now what I'm going to do is try it with a sponge. So the sponge definitely sheared it out, and I feel like I actually prefer applying this foundation with a brush. So what I'm going to do is to go over it again and just blend it all with a brush. The foundation actually blended really good. I prefer blending it with a brush as per cream foundations because it just gives it a little bit of movement as well as coverage on my face, as opposed to using a beauty sponge. At this point, the foundation feels a little bit tacky, and I could definitely feel like I'm wearing a foundation. So this is the Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer, and I got the shade C8.5. Now a lot of people are comparing this with the Tarte Shape Tape. Personally, I have not tried that, but looking at the concealer, it looks a little bit too light on my skin. It has a very huge doe foot applicator. It smells like paint. The tone of it is good because it has that yellow undertone, but the shade is very, very light. The problem is that online, you can't really tell the exact shade match unless you see it in person. That's why it can be a little bit deceiving. But right off the bat, it has a creamy consistency. It's definitely full coverage. I'm gonna have to use the beauty sponge in blending this one. I just wish that I got a darker shade because it looks a little bit ashy on my skin, I'm not gonna lie, but I did a pretty good job in covering, though I could use another layer, so I'm gonna go and dot that around this area and also a little bit on my lid. First impression, the coverage is fairly decent. It's not actually my favorite. The tone is a little bit off. Again, I could have purchased another shade, but you know, basing it online, it's kind of hard to gauge which color you'll fall into. It's a decent concealer. It kind of does settle around my fine lines though, as you can see, so I feel like this type of concealer needs to be set straight away. So what I'm going to do is just quickly set my face, apply some blush and bronzer, and I'll be right back. These two eyeshadow palettes just recently launched in New Zealand. So this is the Revolution Reloaded Velvet Rose eyeshadow palette, which is a great bridal slash everyday wear eyeshadow, and I love the neutrals that are in this eyeshadow palette. The other eyeshadow palette I have is this Reloaded Visionary, and you already know what the shades are dupes of, so I'm not gonna go deep into that. For today's look, I feel like I am going to go ahead and use the Velvet Rose just because I really want to save this eyeshadow palette for another video. So we're going to swatch the mattes first to see what they look like. So these are the shades. I love the fact that the pans are quite huge. I did a makeup tutorial or slash makeup look using the Eyeshadow Reloaded palette with the green tones in it, and I quite like that one because the shades are very blendable and pigmented. So I'm going to swatch this brown right here, this one, and this one right here, and maybe this shade. So these are all the mattes. As you can see, they are very smooth to the touch. They are very pigmented. Here are the swatches. I'm actually quite pleased. They're very warm and neutral. I quite like this orange shade right here, as well as this rosy shade. And now I am going to try and swatch the shimmers. So in this palette, you have 4 shimmers. And this one is a pressed glitter, I believe. I'm going to go and dip my fingers in the shade. Oh, the shimmers feels a little bit gritty, so just keep that in mind. I feel like this type of eyeshadow will work well with the eyeshadow primer. And last but not the least, we're going to try this. So these are the swatches. So the gold one is definitely pressed glitter because of the feel and how it is swatching. So here are the shimmer shades. As you can see, this cranberry shade swatches the best out of 4. This one is a little bit gritty, and that's the pressed pigment. This one has a lot of pigment to it, but I don't know, it just feels weird. The least opaque is that one right there. So we'll see how it blends on the eyes. I am going to dip my brush into this shade right here with a mixture of that shade as a transition. And it's quite pigmented actually. Oh, that's nice. So it's blending out very nicely on the lids. It looks a little bit more cool tone, but I actually quite like it. So to add a little bit of warmth, I'm going to use this shade right there, which is a little bit orange, with the same brush, and just focus that on the outer. Ooh, that's very pigmented. I did not see that coming. Okay. So we're basically just covering our transition shade with this shade. To bring back the cool tone eyeshadow, I am going to go back and use the shade right here and apply that on the outer V and in the crease. I'm going to go and use this shade right here to just go over the outer V a little bit more. These eyeshadows are so pigmented, oh my god. Well done, you makeup revolution or revolution. I'm going to go back to the brush with no extra product and just blend it all. I want to intensify the outer V, so I'm gonna go back and use this shade right here again and just stamp that on the outer part. Actually, for the lid, I think I am going to go and use this shade right here, which is so pretty. It's like the pink glitter shade. So we are going to go back to the concealer that we used before and carve out our lid, since the applicator is a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to go and use the concealer brush. And I'm gonna go and blend the outer V into that concealer. To apply the shimmer shade, since I find that the consistency is somewhat the same as a pressed glitter, I am going to go and use this plastic applicator that I purchased from Essence, and this is the glitter and pigment applicator. This is a lot better than my finger because it's just less messy. Oh my god, it's so pretty. So that's what the shade looks like. So there are some parts that the applicator didn't get, so I'm gonna go over it with a smaller brush. For the lower lash line, I actually might stick to just one color, which I normally do. So I'm going to go and use the shade right here, which is just your nice orange shade that we use. I'm gonna bring that a little bit lower. And for the outer V, I am going to go and use the dark brown once again. And for the inner corner highlight, I might try this shade right here with the applicator. So I'm just gonna go and wipe the previous shade that we use. I'm just gonna quickly tightline my eyes, apply my mascara, and I'll be right back. Here is what my eyes looks like with the mascara. You know what? As the foundation settled on my skin, I actually quite like how it looks. Interesting. So now for the brow bone highlight, which I almost forgot, I'm just gonna go and use this matte beigey eyeshadow underneath my eyebrows. And then for the lips, I have this Revolution lipstick, which I tried on my previous video. And this is just in the shade Stiletto, and this is a nice matte nude lip. And once again, we're going to set our face with the plumping and hydrating makeup fixing spray just to melt the powder. Here is my final look. Overall, my thoughts on the makeup products that I've tried so far. The foundation, for one, it's actually looking pretty good. Like, this is my first impression. Obviously, I'm not gonna do any wear test or anything like that, but right off the bat, the consistency was a little bit too creamy, which feels a little bit heavy on the skin. But once you set it, that feeling goes away and it kind of blends into your skin without it sitting funny on top of the skin, which is really, really good. I'm not sure if it has something to do with the primer, but overall, it did not emphasize my dry patches. It did not emphasize any of my pores. It actually blended out very smoothly on the skin. For the concealer, I don't know if you guys can notice, but my lines are incredibly highlighted. I don't typically like the concealer that much. it might hurt some of you because I'm pretty sure that most of you like this concealer, but for the price I think it's a decent concealer. I don't necessarily love the shade that I picked up. I might have to pick up another shade. It didn't really wow me or anything, but it gave me a decent amount of coverage. It did a good job in highlighting my under eye. I just don't like the fact that it actually accentuated my fine lines, which is a no-no for me. Let me know if you want me to do a wear test on these two products right here. As for the fixing spray, you know, I don't typically notice a huge difference with this one. It smelled like plastic or like very artificial, which I don't necessarily like, but the spritzer is quite aggressive but decent at the same time. Like, I find that within 2 spritz I could easily set my whole entire face. It feels very cooling on my skin. I don't necessarily feel that it plumped my skin. So this is another great eyeshadow palette from Revolution or Makeup Revolution. It's very, very pigmented. The matte eyeshadows work phenomenal. Like, they are very pigmented, they're very blendable, and they're not very powdery, or it doesn't have a lot of kickback, which I actually do enjoy. And as for the shimmers needs a little bit of work, like, you know, either wetting your brush or applying a sticky base underneath. But once you do that and you get used or accustomed to that routine, the shimmer shades on this eyeshadow palette are actually workable. As you can see, I only applied concealer underneath the eyes and the eyeshadow actually pop. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more updates, and I will catch you on my next video. Bye!